welcome to Hollie's Eurovision. Ladies and gents, it's actually coming home. I can feel it in my bones. It's coming. And with me tonight, look, Alfie's got the trophy ready.
Come
on. With me tonight to discuss, obviously, that win against the Czech Republic and to look ahead to that game against Germany, which I think is going to be a lively one, so to speak. I am joined with two fabulous guests. First of all, I am joined by Alfie, who is an Everton fan. So, Alfie, How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I just hope it comes home, to be honest. I've just, my head from Everton has just gone away and I'm just focusing on the Euros because me and you, we've got a lot in common, haven't we, Hollie? With the manager situation, our club, it's been horrendous. But at least we've got something to be excited about during the summer.
Exactly that. And like I said, I always kick myself saying halfway through the season that Everton are the northern equivalent of Tottenham because it's pretty much become a reality now. And I'm so sorry.
Reality.
I have jinxed Everton for you once again. But nevertheless, it's great to have you on, Alfie. So thank you for joining me tonight. And also, I am joined by the lovely Lambs. Lambs, how are you this evening?
Oh my God, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe I'm actually on Hollie's channel. Finally. I'm happy. I can't really complain. Obviously, in terms of football, internationally wise, it's been great watching the Euros. I mean, club wise, obviously.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't really complain, can I? Champions of Europe, and you know what? Obviously, the Chelsea boys have absolutely, I think, been shining in the Euros so far as well. I want to give a shout out to Mason Mount, of course. I want to give a huge shout out to Reece James as well. It was actually, I think, made a great piece defending against Scotland. I want to give a great shout out to Kai Havertz, who's been phenomenal for Germany so far as well, and Hayden and Andreas Christensen for that bullet. That helped Denmark get through in that game. So literally the Chelsea boys just shining. I love it. Oh, and Billy Gilmore for Scotland made his first start, got man of the match. Brilliant.
You literally, I'm so jealous, Lambs. And I mean, I forgot to mention that you were a Chelsea fan. I think that was just pure jealousy, to be honest with you.
She to mention. I see you, Hollie.
I know. I'm trying to stay with it. My brain is pretty much spaghetti at the moment. So I'm going to hit the ground running before I forget and tumble my words up. So I am so grateful for both of you joining me tonight. We've actually got a win to discuss. A win once again. I mean, let's crack on with it. Let's go ahead. So obviously, there was a bit of a controversy. We heard about, obviously, you've already mentioned his name, Billy Gilmore, due to the whole COVID situation, which meant we wouldn't see your main man, Mason Mount, nor would we see Chilwell. Now, obviously, I think Mason Mount, like you've already said, Lambs, is having a phenomenal tournament. But I don't think we would have had to have made those changes in a sense that we wouldn't have seen the likes of Grealish come into the tournament. So that being said, I'll start with you first, Lambs. We'll start with Mount. Obviously, you touched on it, but what's been like the real thing for you with Mason Mount? Obviously, you've seen him at club football, and now he's taken that through to obviously his international kind of level as well. So what's your impressions of him throughout the season and his contributions in the tournament?
Do you know what? I really like Mason Mount. He's one of those players that when under Lampard last season, when he was forced to kind of bring up some of the youth into the first team because of the whole transfer ban, he was one of those players that really stood out and shone for me. And I was really hoping with the addition of these new signings around him, he would just kick on and just go ahead and improve. And there's one thing I couldn't fault him for was his passion, his work ethic, his desire, his energy. He's non-stop. And it was clear that even when Lampard had lost the dressing room, he was the only person who was basically putting in his all, giving his all. And still wanting to play for the manager, and it showed in his performances. Sometimes he was the one kind of bailing us out with goals, but I still didn't really understand the overhype towards him because he was still creating a lot of chances, and sometimes when the shots would fall for him, he'd just be shooting them wide or skying it or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Or it would be easy for the defenders or the goalkeepers to block or save. So I did think that his game was going to suffer, especially people thinking, oh, he's world class, he's this and that. And I'm like, what? We're ninth. So, and it says a lot that we're relying on this inexperienced kid who still needs a better manager to literally bring out his best attributes. He still needs to improve. And I said, under a better manager, he will improve. And what happened when Tuchel came in? He got better. Suddenly those chances started getting converted into goals. He was more clinical in the final third, which is something that Chelsea was just frustratingly bad at under Lampard. Still lacking a little bit under Tuchel, but you could see the improvement once he came in as well. And you could see that with Mason Mount, and, deservedly deserves his Champions League. He's been phenomenal. He's been consistent. But I will be honest, in the opening 2 games, it was a bit hit and miss. There was some brilliant moments for him, as he usually does for us in Chelsea. But there was still some moments where I was just like, oh, maybe if somebody else was there, I think it would have been a goal, or would have been a better chance. And when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking maybe, and again, I don't appreciate the circumstances, but the fact that if Mason Mount was allowed to play, I don't think we would have seen Jack Grealish, and we can see how essential Jack Grealish is to this England team. But all in all, the right people started against Czech Republic. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like you said, obviously, I haven't watched Mason Mount, to be honest with you. Like I've said, I just watch Tottenham all the time. So to hear an insight into Mason Mount and the background and how he's got to this international stage is really interesting. And like you said, those 2 opening games wasn't necessarily his best, but wasn't necessarily his worst. But obviously, with the circumstances of it not playing, meant that Southgate had to make a change. We've all kind of alluded to it. I don't think Southgate would have made a change if that wasn't the case. So that being said, Alfie, what do you make of the fact of Jack Grealish? Now, I have a personal vendetta against the chairman because he could have been a Spurs player by now, but he's not. And he is phenomenal, Jack Grealish. I'll come to you, Alfie. What are your makings of Jack Grealish so far?
He's amazing. Like, honestly, when he touches that ball, even Calvert-Lewin himself said he is one of the best players he's played against, and that's only in the Premier League. I know we haven't got to Europe. Me and Hollie will be on the same boat here, but Jack Grealish, he is phenomenal, like you basically and said, and he got the assist and all, so I think he should start. We don't know what's going on with Harry Kane. I'm sorry to mention it, but what is going on with Harry Kane?
We'll get to that, Hollie.
We'll get to
we will do.
Jack Grealish, he's got to start every single game. He is so essential. Even how Southgate lines up. I mean, he picked the right lineup against Czech Republic, like Lam said. It's just a matter of fact, can we grind more than a 1-0 win?
That is the big question on everybody's lips. Because the thing, don't get me wrong, it was nice once again to obviously win a game on a clean sheet. But I'm thinking to myself, when we play the big boys, is that really going to be enough? I mean, you could argue that Croatia could necessarily be a big boy. They gave us trouble last time in the World Tournament. But again, you're asking for more. And it is interesting that you obviously mentioned Harry Kane. I mean, we might as well just get to it now you've mentioned it. I mean, Tony's obviously saying that people are giving Harry Kane unfair criticism. I mean, I'm going to go at this first, and I'll let you guys kind of interject when you kind of feel like it. I think for Harry Kane, obviously, the whole Eriksen thing that happened, I think was terrible for everyone. For me, when I watched it, it was like the world was ending because I've grown up watching Eriksen. I'm so glad that he's better now. But
he was a Tottenham player as well, so obviously that must hit home.
I think for me, obviously, I got into football quite late, and obviously Eriksen was kind of at that pinnacle time of me with Bale and that. So seeing him collapse to the floor was, another story for another time. But no, everybody seems to forget that in that England side, Harry Kane played with Eriksen for that same amount of time. And I think a lot of people kind of forget the fact that that probably was obviously playing on his mind. I'm not making up excuses for him. He's a talent. He's world class. He's got to be performing on the biggest stage. But maybe that happening, obviously everything else that's going on with his contract. Is he staying? Is he going? Now's his time to prove it on the world stage. I don't know. That's my thoughts. So obviously, I'll start with you, Alfie, just because I know that you've got DCL on the bench and you probably have a lot of opinions against why he's not starting and why Harry Kane's in there. So I'll go with you first. What do you think's up with Harry Kane, and does DCL deserve a chance?
Listen, Harry Kane, he's got to start. Like, he cannot go without a goal throughout this tournament. I've never known a Harry Kane that hasn't scored a goal in this tournament. The thing, what I think, that's a good point well made by Hollie about Christian Eriksen. I forgot about that, who basically Kane was close mates with him. He's seen it on the Amazon Prime movie, didn't you, with Tottenham. I think it's the Man City transfer. I think it's always playing up in his head, but we don't know for sure. we can't make excuses, like Hollie said. I think Southgate is playing him too deep. Yes, I know Kane likes to play in the 10 position and that, but the formation what Southgate picks doesn't suit Harry Kane at all, because Harry Kane loves to create an attack and score goals. That's what he's all about. But I think under Southgate, he's a different breed and he's awful.
No, it is interesting. Like you said, it's just, I don't know whether it's because he's played with a shit defence all season and he thinks he needs to come back. I don't know. I really don't know what it is. So, Lambs, what do you kind of make of it? What do you kind of feel that needs to be done? Do we carry on playing Harry Kane? Would it be silly to drop him? Do we need to drop him? What do you think?
No, obviously, like, he has to start. I mean, nobody else that puts up numbers like him. He is in a category of his own for a reason. And again, just jumping off of Alfie's point right there, I do agree. It is because of the way Southgate plays him, like, because it's such a defensive-minded formation. You can even see, like, after you got the early goal against Czech, I thought we were going to kick on and score more goals, because I thought, okay, Saka, Grealish, this works. Look at us. We're more attacking-minded. We're moving forward. What, Kane's actually getting chances? What? And then Southgate does his Southgate things and changes it up to make it so flat, so dead and defensive and boring. So that's why you're seeing players like Kane just dropping so deep. Kane shouldn't be dropping that deep. You don't see him dropping that deep in Tottenham, because, you know, he's got Son there, he's got Mora there, he's got these players around him, even Bergwijn as well, and Dombele sometimes, these players to like feed him from the wings, from the midfield. So he's positionally wise, he's exactly where he needs to be to score those goals. And the partnership between him and Son, and I think sometimes when you see him drop deep into them pockets and pick up the ball, you expect he looks up and thinks, there's somebody like a Foden or a Sterling making those runs, and they're not making those runs because they don't have that same understanding. And again, maybe it's just because they don't really know each other as well. But I am going to blame Southgate for Kane's performances, for a lot of performances as well. Collectively as a team, we haven't conceded, but now we're getting to the stage where, I'm sorry, even this Croatia team, they're not the same Croatia team as they were before. So I expected this England team to beat them as well. I didn't expect. I knew it was going to be close, and it was kind of close actually. Like, people kind of underestimate just how close that game was as well. And it wasn't like it was more so Croatia didn't really turn up. They didn't really want to play. And as soon as we got the goal, it was just, that was it. It looked like one of those games where there was only going to be one goal and England just happened to get it. But I still wasn't convinced from that game. And, all of my nightmares came true in the Scotland game, because it literally just pointed out all of the reasons why I think Southgate is such a fraud and why he's so sus with his tactics as well. And even when you think about some of the substitutions he's making, and this is where I want to include Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Why are you taking off Harry Kane, who is an out-and-out striker, and you have another out-and-out striker on the bench, a different option in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and you're playing Marcus Rashford as a striker when the man's been playing on the left for the whole season? What are you doing? It's things like that just blows my mind. You're leaving Jadon Sancho on the bench, who again is another option as an attacking player on the wing, because he doesn't have the experience and ability yet. And Tyrone Mings and Calvin Phillips are starting. I don't just please make him make sense to me, because again, it's things like that. Like, again, Jack Grealish, why is it taken for the third game for our best creative player in the whole squad to start? It's things like this that just makes me sit there and be like, yeah, okay, we haven't conceded. Yeah, we've managed to get 2 wins, but am I convinced? No. And this is why I feel firmly in my heart it's not coming home, because of things like that. But I do want to big up Saka. I do want to big up Grealish. Their performances in the Czech game is certainly what helped us get off to the great start that we did get off to in that game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we said, I think those had to be made, those changes. But would Southgate have made them if we didn't have that COVID issue? Probably not. I mean, we'll get Dad up because he's in it. Look, bless him. Probably the only way Kane can have the ball, no decent crosses when he's up front. So I've got to find a way from the back. I mean, said it like we've watched Tottenham all season, and he gets frustrated, so he drops to win the ball, to pass the ball up to Sonny, and now he's doing it for England because he's not getting the service. And this is the funny thing, actually, before we lead on to the next point. Everybody like Sky Sport, I know they've got a personal vendetta against Kane, which is honestly beyond me. But the fact that they were bigging up Lewandowski, the fact that he didn't get any goals, obviously he did last night, but what I'm saying is they were giving excuses for him. They're saying because he's got no service.
Hollie, do you see how many ex-United players are on Sky Sports all the time? Of course they got an agenda, mate. An agenda, of course.
It drives me nuts, but especially game, like to slag off your own player, but to big up Lewandowski. I mean, Lewandowski is class, but to say he's got no service, then to say, oh no, Kane's just playing shit because he's playing shit, when actually he's got no service. Like, it blows my mind. But nevertheless,
you see Kane dropping too deep, like you know the Czech Republic game. You see him hold up the ball on the halfway line. He shouldn't be there.
No, he shouldn't. I just, like I said, I think it's a combination.
We have seen like him doing some brilliant hold up play, you know, working in partnership with Son at Tottenham, and it has like, you know, because he doesn't always have to score. Sometimes, obviously, he sets them up the system, and Scon will just make that run forward and put the goal away. So
it is what it is. Like I said, I think it's a combination of loads of different things. I think it's his head at the moment. He's never been at this stage in his career where his age is getting on. I know he's only 27, but for him, he needs to decide whether he wants a club trophy or he wants these personal accolades again. He's got the Man City thing on his head. He's obviously got the likes of, obviously, we've already spoken about Eriksen. We've also got the way that Southgate sets things up. It's just a massive, disgusting thing of everything, really. I mean, Jay said Kane is in the last 16, Lewandowski finished bottom of the group. Exactly that, Jay. Thank you. So yeah, I don't get the agenda. I really don't. But like I said, I think Harry needs to try and find it with him to kick on, and I'm sure he will do. But let's move away from that slightly, and I want to talk about Saka. Now, it's weird to big up an Arsenal player. I'm not going to lie to you, but that he was, let's put club rivalries aside, he was incredible. So Alfie, what do you make of Saka? To me, I think he's actually, I don't know, geared the team up a bit. You've seen him driving at players, which we haven't really seen with this England side for the last couple of games.
Yeah, and that's what I like about him. He's like a Jack Grealish, but he's so underrated in my opinion, just because of he's in an Arsenal side where Aubameyang did shit. Like they did do shit though, didn't they, Arsenal? And Saka, he doesn't get too much credit because of the fact, I don't know, it's just Saka. When you hear the name Saka, like, I don't know how to say it, like, but Saka doesn't get enough credit in my opinion.
It's because he's from an underperforming Arsenal side, probably. He doesn't shine as bright.
So when you hear the way people, obviously, and even the media and stuff, like they're always talking about Phil Foden and what a great technical player is and how versatile he is. And don't get me wrong, Phil Foden is spectacular. He's an amazing player. But look at the people that he has around him. Look at the quality and caliber of players he's playing with at City. And him being the same age as Saka, I think maybe Saka's slightly younger, I think, even. And Saka being one of those key players that is actually dragging this Arsenal team. Like, they're actually relying on him. He's become one of them, you know, one of their most important players in the last season and a bit alone. Do you know what I mean? Like this child, this kid, I don't think he gets enough credit. And you can tell even to the back end of Arsenal's season, shortly after their Europa League exit, he looked burnt out, and you could tell in his performances, he looked completely burnt out because they were just overusing him all the time. And one thing I really like about Saka as well, and like Phil Foden as well, they're so versatile. They don't just play in any one position. They can fill about 3 or 4 different positions and fill it in effectively as well. And like you said, I love the way his energy, his pace, driving at players, cutting in, whipping those balls in. And we know he can hit them as well because we can see them. You know, he's done some some sneaky, cheeky little finishes as well. And, you know, unfortunately, I think he was robbed slightly just of his goal because he was a little bit shorter and Sterling was waiting to capitalize. But, you know, I do think, you know, he probably did deserve that goal in the end. But, you know, he was involved, him and Grealish. Huge difference to that. Huge difference to that team. So obviously everyone's talking about Grealish, like, finally, thank you for starting him, which, you know, we've been basically saying from before the tournament even kicked off. But Saka, somebody who obviously maybe wasn't really down to possibly get many minutes, actually coming in, making his first start and performing spectacularly, and well deserved that man of the match accolade. brilliant player. I'm actually so jealous. And you're right, it is weird to pick up an Arsenal player. It's probably even more weird for you, Hollie. But it's weird for me because I'm like quite jealous as a Chelsea player. I feel like, as a Chelsea fan, because I feel like I wish he was at Chelsea, because every time we play against them. It's always him and, you know, Martinelli sometimes as well. They're just out there like terrorizing us. They're the ones that are causing us problems. So yeah, I'm jealous. He's such a brilliant player. Wow.
He is. Well, I'm just glad he plays for England. I mean, put the club aside, at least he's in an England shirt. I mean, we've kind of all touched on, which Jay mentioned, the fact that obviously the pundits would talk about him more if he wasn't in an Arsenal side, which is 100% true. I mean, we have touched on that, the fact that obviously, like you said, if he was in a City team, he'd be the next up-and-coming star like Foden. So, yeah, I'm just hopeful that, obviously, let's hope Southgate remains him in, because I think we do need him in 100%, just to drive at players and create something. And it's strange to also talk about Sterling, obviously, scoring all these goals. So, Alfie, what do you make of Sterling? It's a madness, isn't it? It really is.
But he's the one who's got us qualified for the Euros round of 16. It's mad, isn't it?
It is.
He
it
is
really
the
is.
person who has qualified for us.
It's insane when you put it like that as well. I think the only thing for me that really irritates me with Sterling, I don't know about you guys, I get your opinion. He makes all the right runs, but never seems to have that finish or that end product. I mean, even the goals he scored, I'm not going to take away from him too much. Obviously, that header was good. It was great. But the last couple of games, like, his finishing wasn't on par, I don't think. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, no, he should have done better, but he still scored. But Alfie, do you think he still needs to add that kind of element to his game?
Listen, we've seen it for years, haven't we? These open goals. You've seen it in the Champions League. He absolutely bottles it. He does all the hard work, except that one final third, and that is finishing, isn't it, Hollie? It's going to really interest me going into the Germany game, how Southgate's going to line up. Is he going to line up the exact way, but maybe with different players, with a different formation? Will it affect our game? We will wait and see. But will it be a risk? In my opinion, yes, because it's Southgate ball, and you don't know what to expect, don't we? But we don't know what to expect from Germany, of course, because they can be a solid team on their day.
No, exactly that. And that kind of leads on to the next point, Lambs, that I come to you about, is obviously we do play Germany in the knockouts. And obviously the way that group was going last night, it was literally changing every 5 seconds. So it was really interesting to actually see at the end of it, we're going to play Germany.
Crazy games.
It was a madness. So Lambs, that being said, what are you kind of hoping? Obviously, we're hoping to get through to the next round, but what do you think is going to happen against that Germany game?
Again, in my heart, I'm with you guys. I hope somehow we get through the game, we progress. I really, really want to believe that in my heart. And do you know what's crazy? We actually, for the first time in a long time, we have a group of players, a squad of players that is capable of beating this Germany team quite comfortably. But unfortunately, there is always a flaw, and our flaw is Gareth Southgate. And like, I've never been so nervous about a lineup before a game, because I feel like we can already tell the story from the lineup. Every time Southgate releases the lineup, it's literally just an absolute madness on Twitter. Honestly, it's just, it's so frustrating, because it's like we're sitting here, when we're talking about some of the substitutions that he's making, you know, like playing Rashford as a striker, you know, leaving Dominic Calvert-Lewin, locking up Jadon Sancho, starting Phillips and Mings. It's just, my head actually honestly really hurts. Like, you know, not trying to build this team around the fact that, you know, get your top striker, your top goal scorer, the top goal scorer, scoring goals by utilizing all these attacking players that you have at your disposal. You're just going to literally just stick about 5 in the back. What is just, how does that inspire hope? And the thing is, I'm not saying it's impossible, because like, this is a very, very suspect Germany team. But one thing we can say about Germany is, like, once they do qualify past that group stage, we can't deny some of the quality players they have. Like, Havertz has been great. Rudiger's been pretty solid in the back there. Kimmich has been phenomenal. Gosens, who else do they have? Even Muller's experience in the middle can't be discredited. Like, and when you're thinking about these caliber of play, even when you like, even Timo Werner, there's pace of something different. No. There's something different, you know what I mean? Like, they might just want to throw him on maybe in the last 10 minutes, rattle our defense a little bit, you know, pull players around. Pull players out, you know.
I know he's your player, mate, but come on, Timo Werner. You could have pulled out.
Maybe not Timo. Obviously, you know, they still have other great players, you know, the players that I've named. Tony Kroos is another one. You can't deny his experience. Serge Gnabry, Leroy Sané, even though he had a terrible game last time. And Serge Gnabry had a bit of a sus game the game before that. We still know what they're capable of. We still know what they can do. And it's just Southgate, and again, this comment says everything. Like, he needs to be more. If he's positive in the lineup and in the players that he picks, then we'll win. If he sets up negative, then we're going to lose, because that suits Germany perfectly. That suits perfectly.
100%. I mean, after watching Park the Bus for a whole season and a bit, you kind of get the fact that it just doesn't work. And I know, comparing obviously Tottenham's defence to England's defence is better than Tottenham's. But again, it just doesn't work. The best form of defence is to attack. And Southgate needs to hurry up and realise that. And I know we've been a bit negative in a sense, but I think it's because we all know it's coming. We all know we're going to be let down. But obviously, we've got to be positive. We have got to be positive. It's just, I don't know. Let's go around and see if we can get score predictions. So, Alfie, I'll come to you. What do you think the score prediction will be?
Wow. It really depends how Southgate is really going to set up for this game. If we were going to win, it'll probably be like a 1-0, but I can't see that happening. I see Germany scoring. Listen, I just want to say Jordan Pickford, he's been outstanding for the end of the season with Everton, and he's already kept 3 clean sheets, but he hasn't really been tested, in my opinion. He's made a couple of good saves the night before, I think, but he hasn't really been tested to his highest ability, because obviously Southgate does play really defensive football, and we don't get hardly nothing in rewards of going attacking wise, because we've only scored 1 goal and looked at chances we create and stuff like that. But if we were going to win, it'll probably be like a 2-1, I think.
You reckon a 2-1? I mean, that's not a fair shout. I hope we win, and I'm sure we will. I mean, like we said, if we can use the strengths to our disposal, if Southgate actually gets out of his ways, maybe that could be a reality. So, Lambs, I come to you. How do you see it going down?
Oh, do you know what? I kind of agree with Alfie. It really does depend on how he sets up. It could be that, and again, relating to Pickford, he could, end up being the hero, or, we might be seeing him on Twitter the same way we saw poor old Marshall.
It's a guessing game.
Do you know what I mean? But I do have to big up Pickford. That was a great save. I think 2 great saves he made against Scotland in that Scotland game as well. So, and that even surprised me. I was like, wait, Pickford. But okay, but like you said, he hasn't been tested, and we do know Germany. They have those quality players, those brilliant players who can just take a pot shot from midfield and hit top bins, and that's it. We're all just left holding our jaws. Like it could happen so easily, just literally exactly like what Modric did to Scotland, unfortunately. So it could go that way, or if he sets up positive-minded, attacking-minded, he puts in the players that we want to see. Grealish is there, Sancho's there, Sancho or Saka, either rotating between those two. Harry Kane is there in his position. You're there playing, you're playing attacking midfielders. Use Reece James and Chilwell if he's back. Use them as wing backs. If you're playing. I think he should go for a 3 in the back. Honestly, I think he should go Tuchel. He should go to system. We have the players in England to be able to do that. If you put Maguire in the centre of that, you put Stones on one side, and who else can we put on? Maybe Kyle Walker, I think, maybe on the other side. Yeah. And then literally play with wing backs. You've got Rice and Phillips in that holding role, and then go all attacking. Like I have absolutely no reason why we could not beat this Germany team playing that way. Absolutely no reason why. So yeah, it could go either one. If we lose, I think we lose something like 3-1, to be honest, because I feel like once they know that they've scored and they've got the advantage,
get the momentum.
Yeah, I think the mentality is gonna shake a few players. So if they win, then I think they're gonna win in style. But if we win, I think it will be something narrow, like a 1-0.
Yeah, it is interesting you say that, actually, because we actually haven't had a goal in the back of our net yet, have we? This is me trying to think with my brain that's to mash at the moment. But that's the thing, we haven't actually seen an England side concede. So what happens when that happens? Do we go all at attack?
I'm thinking when it does happen, it might just be pure capitulation, because like the mentality, and also again the history, especially when we come up against Germany in the past, we've never beaten them. So like these records do have an impact on players' mentalities as well. You do tend to be aware of things like this.
100%. I mean, being a Spurs fan, it's coursing for every player's like blood. So then for that to be on the England stage on an international scale, to think that obviously if a goal does go in, and they haven't had that this whole tournament yet, especially as a gel altogether, the likes of Foden, Saka, the young ones, will the ones like Henderson, that's obviously doing all the games off the pitch because he's rarely on the pitch at the moment, either like last night when he actually did come on, but the thing is, will they be able to cope with it? That's the thing that really worries me. They were necessary. They've seen all the tapes of us losing to Germany all these different times. They've seen the goals that Germany have played. I'm not saying it's the same German side, but it's Germany. That's the thing that does worry me. I mean, Darren's come up with a good point, which kind of flips the argument in the sense that I'm not a Southgate fan, but the teams that win the Euros play pragmatic football. Now, Alfie, I'll come to you with this one. Do you think that's maybe we need to look at it from that angle as well, like just play for the win? I mean, I know at the start of obviously going back to club football with Tottenham, I would snap anybody's hand off for a 1-0 win every game. But in the Euros,
if I'm being honest.
So with that being said, do you think maybe we have to kind of look at it like that? Is Southgate playing the long game?
Listen, a win is a win at the end of the day. But when we progress, it will get harder. And we might fall on our arse and say, we should have done this, we should have done that, because we can't keep on winning 1-0. Listen, it's a win at the end of the day. But we need to look at it on the bright side, and we just need to take that risk and score a couple of more goals and get Kane's confidence back up.
100%. I mean, Orange has said Portugal played pragmatic and won the previous Euro. I mean, yes, but that's
Portugal also have Cristiano Ronaldo. They have one of the two godlike players that currently exist in this world of football right now. So they have that advantage on their team. So that instantly equals about 5 players. So, but they can get away with the pragmatism. And I think they even kind of settled for a similar approach this Euros. And so far it's working. It's just moments of brilliance. That's kind of getting them out of the dark pockets. And it's just, I just feel like Germany are much better at controlling the ball. Like when I'm thinking about players like Kimmich running up against, I don't know, Stones, it doesn't inspire much confidence.
That's the thing. I think, obviously, lots of people on this. I mean, Eduardoson said, obviously, Greece played pragmatically. He said that's probably a better example. And okay, yeah, I mean, that is once in a blue moon. But with England and being a Tottenham fan, I can't go out there and just win 1-0. It's not within me. I would panic the whole time. Even when we were playing the ball around the back against the Czech Republic, I'm sat there thinking, what on earth is this? Okay, it's not nice to look, but again, I just don't think it was effective either. What is that actually bringing to the game? We're not actually pushing on to build confidence. We're just passing it around the back. What? I just don't understand. If there was a silly lapse of concentration and then Nick can get the ball, then it's 1-1. I just don't understand the way we go about things. But look, we might be being too negative. We might be come Tuesday off our rocker and through to the next round. Who knows? But I think also if we do beat Germany, our ride to the final is a lot easier. So, Alfie, if we do beat Germany, do you think we can actually go all the way?
We could. We've got Sweden. And then hopefully we don't do a bottle jobs performance like we did in 2018 against Croatia, and hopefully we do not bottle it neither against Netherlands or Denmark or Wales. Imagine it if it was Wales. Jesus Christ.
Oh
That would
my
not be good.
yeah, that would be. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's the end of the road for Wales this time.
Yeah.
For them, they've just come up against. But the Netherlands, although attacking wise, they have impressed me. And in the midfield, like Gini Wijnaldum, I'm not gonna lie, he has really shone for me. I think, see what happens. He leaves Liverpool and suddenly, he can breathe. He just, I'm free. He starts actually playing decent football because he's been absolutely spectacular. But I still haven't forgotten that they conceded 2 goals from a 2-0 lead when there was like less than 10 minutes left. So yeah, yeah. And I think mentality wise, I'm just thinking, how can you kind of capitulate like that, like 2-0 to 2-2? And I think they were lucky to end up getting the win in the end, but that was too close for comfort. I know they got clean sheet in their second game, but still, Netherlands, I don't think they've really been tested. Like, look at their group as well. There was such an easy group, and they still kind of showed some leaky holes, some parts they need to work on as well. So we'll see how they go as well. But I think if we beat Germany, there's absolutely, we're still within, we've got the same chance as everybody else, because I personally, after the conclusion of these group stages, I think France, they don't look like the World Cup winning France. It looks like there's some discord within that camp. Something's not quite right. 1 win and 2 draws. Questionable. So one of the teams I think could be the dark horses is Denmark, purely because I think it's their passion that's just going to be just riding them through the rest of this competition as well, given what happened at the start.
One sec, sorry.
That's right.
And Italy as well, because fantastic start, so consistent, best defensive record, I think highest scoring record as well, scoring 7, conceding 0. These are all things that we have to start opening our eyes and paying attention to. Teams that we might have thought may have bossed it in the group stages may have finally met their matches now in the knockout stages. But do you know what? I want to see some penalties, Hollie. I want to see some penalties in these knockout stages.
Yes, defo. Keep it interesting. I'm all about those penos. I love a bit of panakas. But that is interesting you say it like that, with like kind of an overview. The fact that obviously, I mean, Hugo Lloris last night went to uppercut someone in the head. So it's not doing his world of confidence any good. Literally, I watched it and I was like, mate, he's getting to boxing now. I think that's your calling. Like, geez. But it's interesting. It was horrendous. Literally, I thought the geezer on the floor was like putting an Oscar-winning performance, and then I saw it again and I was like, okay, I'll let you roll around on the floor a bit.
He's probably seeing stars right now.
And look, Orange just said it as well. He did. He uppercutted him. But no, it is interesting. Like you said, I don't think France are really up to their A game at the moment. I don't really know what's going on. I mean, it's perfect for us. But like you said, I think beating Germany as well will give them that boost of confidence. We've all kind of said how it'd be damaging if they score against us and how do we cope from that. But if we manage to maybe concede, then go on and win the game, that's going to just bring a lot of momentum into the tournament.
Do you think mentality-wise, I'm really not too sure. Like you said, we haven't conceded a goal in competition yet. Do you think like the importance of whoever concedes the first goal, like that's what's probably going to tip? Or do you think
100%.
Because I feel like if England concede the first goal as opposed to scoring the first goal, I think if they score the first goal, they're in much better control of the game. Whereas if they concede, the pressure's on because of how defensively minded Southgate likes to set up. Instead of making defensive substitutions, he's going to have to be forced to make attacking substitutions. We've never really seen him approach games like that, have we? So these are all like time tests, isn't it?
It is. And I mean, watching Tottenham, obviously, I was happy when we conceded because I knew there'd be a kick up the arse. But I think in the reversal with Southgate, I think it'll actually have the opposite effect. I think they just implode on each other because they actually haven't had that yet. And I think that's the really concerning thing. So, Alfie, what do you think of that? Do you think maybe conceding the first goal is going to implode? Or do you think if we score the first goal, then concede the second, do you think that might balance it? Which one do you think will probably be the worst case scenario?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
Sorry, that's my awful explanation. So say if we concede the first one, do you think that's going to have more of a negative effect? Or do you think if we score the first one, then concede, will that have a worse effect? What do you think will be the worst scenario?
I think when we score first, then when we concede will be the worst scenario because the momentum from the game towards us to them will completely change, and we will fall on our backside, and Germany will just dominate us, in my opinion. But when we concede first, I think we could get some inspiration from Jack Grealish or someone like that to drive us like Saka. Like, they can just drive, and players like Reece James, Ben Chilwell, it's gonna, hopefully we can attack more from Southgate and just hopefully build momentum and create more chances with Kane, and hopefully let's get Kane up and running, scoring.
I mean, it is interesting you said it that way round, because to be fair, the likes of Kane has had to come from behind in scenarios and to be able to get the win over the line. I mean, it hasn't happened too often, but again, they've been in that position before. But then I think to myself, a lot of those other players, you think of Foden, you think of those that young age that don't necessarily have to come from behind because they're always in front. I don't know. It's a strange one. Hopefully we don't concede too many. We do get the win, or we don't concede any, because that would be fabulous. But
an interesting question I quickly had for you guys is, does Sterling start this game? Because it's a question that's just dividing a lot of opinion right now. At the same time, we know what Sterling is, and in City they create like a ton of chances. That's why it's okay for him to miss about 20, because they're probably going to score like 3 of them anyway in a game. And there's other players around who, when he misses, they'll score anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But he is our top scorer, but what does that really say? It's a bit like when people used to say, "Oh, Mason Mount is your best player under Lampard," but we were 9th. So what does that really mean? Do you know what I mean? So
it's interesting. I mean, Orange has said there, obviously, the fact because he's scored the goals. Agreed. I think it's a very awkward position to be in, because if you don't play him and you lose a game, it's because we didn't play him. And if you do start him and he offers nothing really again, you're in I think it's an awkward position to be in. I don't really know personally. As much as I don't like his end product, he creates those runs so other players have space. That's the only reason I would probably keep him on. But Alfie, what would you think?
Exactly what you say, really. His goals did qualify us towards the round of 16. And I think Southgate will probably start him, because you know what Southgate loves? He loves playing his favourite players. So, yeah.
And Lambs, I mean, you threw the question out. What's your kind of thinking behind it?
Obviously, after the first 2 games, I wasn't really convinced. But again, he got the second goal and basically all of the goals now in total that England have scored in these group stages. So it's not really helping my argument of maybe trying something new, something different, so we can be more potent attacking wise. Thinking about putting a Foden back on the left where he actually plays. Actually playing somebody who plays as a right wing, like a Sancho or a Saka, in their natural positions. Or like rotating with Sterling. I don't know. Just maybe trying something a little bit different. And then if it doesn't work out, so either start Sterling, then take him off, or start with like a Sancho or a Saka, something different. And then if that's not working out, take him off and put Sterling on. But either way, I just want him to be more proactive, at least like try and do something different and play players in their actual position. Because it's another thing we can question. Yeah, the tactics are off, the manager's definitely off. There's a lot of criticism, being thrown about certain players, obviously, especially Harry Kane. But then we're sitting here saying, the manager's also playing other players around him out of position. So is he really doing the best that he can to get the best out of the squad? No.
100%. It's interesting you say that as well, because the perfect time to have tried something different was the game that's just gone, and it's another missed opportunity. Exactly. And now if we're going to try something new, we've got to do it in a knockout game. It just makes no sense. I don't know, like you said, why is he not proactive? Why is he not thinking this ahead? Be like, right, we've qualified anyway. Let's just swap and change things about to see what our best attack is for the next round in the knockout. It is beyond me. It does baffle me 100%. But it was a good discussion for you guys. I really appreciate you both coming. You see my words again now. It's nearly my bedtime. But before we go, I want to say a big thank you to both of you. So, Alfie, where can everybody find you and your content?
Yeah, Alfie AFC10 on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. But on Saturday, I will be live on Kieran Rants' YouTube channel. So type in Kieran Rants. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be taking over for like a week because he's currently doing his exams. So I'll be doing watch-alongs on his channel during the round of 16. I won't be doing the England one because I'll just get myself worked up. But yeah, cheers for having me on, Hollie, and speaking to you. It's been a while, but it's your last day tomorrow. Enjoy.
Yeah, finally the weekend, thank God. But no, thank you, Alfie, for joining us. Like I said, it's nice to talk things that isn't Everton or Tottenham for once. But also, Lambs, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, obviously, thank you, Hollie. Big ups to Hollie, big ups to Alfie. Thank you so much for inviting me onto this channel. This was an amazing, amazing stream. And guys, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and share it out on all of your socials so everybody can see what a great discussion we had. And you can find me on Twitter. On Twitter now, I can't believe it. It's almost my 1st anniversary on Twitter as well. So Lambs Reacts over there.
You got it.
I'm also on my YouTube channel. So I'm currently releasing like a little series, like taking a look inside some of the teams for the Euros, like a little Euro special thing as well. So stay tuned. You might be seeing some familiar faces as we go along, because I'm going to be asking some people to cover certain teams. So maybe you might see Hollie discussing and breaking down a certain team as we progress through this competition. But yeah, I'm on Instagram as well, at Lami Elmer. That's my Instagram tag. And yeah, you can also find me on GNA TV, so make sure you subscribe to that channel as well. I usually host the ladies show as well, but we're still out here doing Euro content here and there. And God, where else am I on? The Offside Rule, which we have an episode on 10:30 tonight, on the First 11. Midnight Vibes on the Football Terrace, just here, there, and goddamn everywhere.
Right, I don't know how you do it. I honestly don't. I really don't. There we go. Oh, sorry, carry on.
I said I don't know how I do it.
Right, you're insane. Absolutely insane. Darren says, Lambs, Alfie, and Mr. and Mrs. Winks, great show. Cheers. And I did see Edwardson, you in there slating Winks the whole time. And I would have got him up, but it wasn't relevant to the chat. Next time I'll try and make him relevant so we can get your comments in. But he's not very relevant at the moment. Maybe when he goes to Man United, maybe. But no, thank you both for joining me this evening. Obviously the Euro fantasy football is still out at the moment, so make sure you get involved. I'm not bringing up the scoreboard because I'm at the bottom, near the bottom, so we won't want to brag that up, but make sure you all get involved. And obviously until next time, come on England,
coming out.